Thank you so much. Thank you for waiting around.
No, actually, I'm a bit early.
Oh, really? Well, thank you, Ileana. Thank you. Let me give you my new card. We have a new address in Miami and a new telephone.
About that. That's right. You're over on 72nd.
72nd Avenue between Bird and Red, between Bird and Miller.
Right,
That whole, yes, industrial complex area is great. It's beautiful. Well, tell me about United Way.
Well, United Way.
Well, you guys are really being hit hard with the economic crisis because the urgent need for services increases while your contributions decrease.
Well, for the moment, we're taking some hits, especially, some of our larger employers who have begun laying off staff. Those are significant. I think we're going to be okay this year.
So some of the biggest contributors, those companies, are laying off staff.
So, two things are happening. They're laying off staff, and we're seeing decreases. Although it's funny, particularly in the financial sector, a lot of the banks have taken hits and have laid off a lot of their staff. So some of those contributions are down. Others are up. It's a funny thing. Some companies are just they're employees of the county, in fact. A lot of the county employees are saying, people are hurting.
So you depend a lot on the big effort that's countywide.
It's really community.
And when is that?
It's the campaign, the large public employees campaigns are run pretty much now. They're pretty much concluding.
So right now they're just about finishing up.
Wrapping up. Some of them extend a little bit farther into the spring.
And how did it go for the
We're still waiting.
Still waiting.
It looks like we're going to be down in some areas. Although, as I said, individual countries, there are some examples of companies that have actually maintained or increased their gifts.
God bless them.
Which is, what they see is
that's amazing.
The need is greater. I mean, if anything, we have some stuff up on our website about, the call to our hotline, domestic violence,
domestic violence calls to your hotline for people desperate.
People that are losing their homes, people that are losing, that are.
There's so much anxiety. Even those who have jobs, who have health care, they're worried about losing their jobs, losing their health care, losing their home. There's so much anxiety.
It's a very, I think we're seeing the beginning of what's going to be, a very difficult next year.
God help us. So what brings you to D.C.?
I'm here.
Live United.
This is about our center. And I guess the first thing I wanted to talk about was just
This has been on my to-visit list.
Oh, good.
For a while. Sarah, you must make me get down there. I pass by it all the time. I'm in the neighborhood so often, and I'm amazed at the way it looks outside. I need to actually go inside where the goodness takes place.
We brought lots and lots of
Early childhood program.
This particular program that I included a brochure, something new that we're doing with Miami-Dade College, which is called the...
That's my school, Miami-Dade College.
It's an administrative institute. It's meant really
So it's to help those who are running daycare centers.
It's meant for small business people, owners of daycare centers and childhood centers who wish to increase the quality of their program.
That's wonderful, Sue. You give them training on management and because they might know a lot about child care, but they may not know about bookkeeping and payroll taxes.
It's the business end of it as well.
That is a great idea.
And there's academic credit.
That is wonderful.
So they can actually accumulate credits towards...
So they can get academic credit if they go.
So that's one of them. And there were let's see, how many people? I think something like close to 100 people in last year's class and about the same in the second year's class.
That is great.
So it's been
so this United Way Center for Excellence in Early Education. So these are some photograph imagery of the brain when it receives positive stimulation and negative stimulation.
That's right. There's really measurable differences in children.
Just little babies.
Quality parenting, quality care in their early years. And if they don't receive that care and that stimulation,
that's wonderful.
They suffer the consequences.
Gosh, okay, so we get that. And this is the building
that was the drawing that was made.
As a matter of fact, Sarah, you're coming down to Miami next week.
Yes.
Or are you just going to the Keys?
No, I'll be there. I mean, I'll be wherever I need
This
to
would be a great center for you to visit,
I would love to.
if you
love
can.
To show you.
And I'm embarrassed that I have not been there yet,
Well, no need to
and-
be embarrassed.
but I need to make
with
good on
every-
my promise to go
I
there.
would love you to be able to see it. I think what's most significant about the center is, in addition to the school itself, which is just a wonderful environment for 130 very lucky children, half of whom are Head Start.
130, now how do they get selected?
Well,
This is an amazing
it's,
school for
there's
them.
a big waiting list. About 50% of the kids are Head Start children.
It's wonderful.
So their tuition is paid by Head Start. And 25% are on the sliding fee scale and 25% are full pay. So, and the children, we take children as young as 6 weeks and up and, through, until they're ready for kindergarten. So 0 to 5, we like to say.
Wow,
It's,
that is
But
great.
what I think the most important thing that that I want to say about it is that while the school itself is extraordinary, it's really meant as a laboratory for adults. It's really a teaching environment for teachers. For
So you
parents.
train adults and you train teachers as to how to stimulate
That's right.
this positive growth in
And to
students.
bring this kind of model of
Gosh.
quality learning back into the
So
centers
you
all
are
over
the
country
Director of Public Policy and Community Engagement.
for the United
For
States.
you, so what does that mean? What
So
you
part
go
of-
speak to different groups?
I do. Part of my role is to identify what are key issues for the United Way.
And speaking of
to bring to
issues,
our board.
it brings us to this.
Oh, good. Well, this is something.
Calling for 211 Act.
This is something that the United Way of America is asking all of its member organizations around the country to talk about with our.
Anita Eshu of California, she's the lead
She's the lead
sponsor.
sponsor this year.
And so it would be like 411 for information, you dial 211 to
That's
get
right.
what?
To get information and referrals to a whole range of health and human services locally. It also serves a very critical role in disaster.
Now, how would that be
preparedness and
different from the
disaster
one we
planning.
have in Miami-Dade County, which is 311?
Well, this 311 is a line that connects you just to local
County.
government services.
Okay.
And this connects you to, in addition to 311, to all of the health and human
Wonderful
services.
idea.
We've had this in Miami, it's run, United Way has supported it, but the Switchboard of Miami is the.
So right now in Miami, you
service.
can call 211?
You can, and it's also being partially subsidized now by the Children's Trust.
And so you want this to be nationwide?
Well, it's sort of state by state, and in Florida, about 80% of the counties are covered by 211, and we're also extending it now to cell phone coverage, and particularly in times of disaster, it's a way to integrate the services so that no matter
So
where
wonderful
you are.
idea. I'd love to co-sponsor
Will you?
that.
Oh, good.
So
Then
Sarah, if you could,
we'll be sure to
if you could
send
sign
you-
me up.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. It's a very bipartisan.
So it covers housing, food, income support, legal
Education,
support, mental health,
Mhm.
healthcare, disaster
Mhm.
services, clothing, transportation, education, employment, volunteers. Wow.
It's a great service, and it really needs to. The national bill would provide funds and support really to build the infrastructure.
And most of them are housing and food.
A lot, the demand, what we've heard is that this year alone, the demand for, the number of calls have increased by about 40%, particularly for emergency and basic services.
That is a sad statistic. Have increased about 40%.
We're seeing the same thing in Miami.
Oh my
Really
gosh.
across the board with all of the health and human services that people need in times of crisis.
I am so worried
We are
about.
too. We are too. We have, we're working on a variety of projects, some of which have to do with financial stability, with helping families
Yes.
gain financial literacy so that they can begin to save funds and begin to invest their money better in their futures.
Good.
So that's sort of another area.
So leave me with a hopeful message.
The community is rallying together. I think that's probably. the
I hope that they
most
really
important
came through with this giving program.
We're, I think they're coming through in remarkable ways, both in terms of funds and in terms of volunteerism.
Good.
The United Way really depends on just a whole raft of community volunteers.
Absolutely.
Step up.
Thank you, Josh.